Yes, my hardware scale is installed, and you may be thinking, is it worth? Is it much better than the predictive scale? Is it precise? So in this video, I'm going to show you how to install the hardware scale in your Arduino, and I'll show you a test with my target weight, the weight measured by Arduino, and the real weight in my scale. To start, you will go to the Arduino webpage, then in accessories, you will see the hardware scales, and this is the procedure that we are going to follow. Okay, so now I'm gonna clean the load cells. Mine is almost perfect, I would say. Very minor, but let's improve a bit. So just use a sharp knife. I'm gonna do it off screen, okay? So this one, I think it's okay. Let me see the other one. I think it's okay now. Now I'm gonna organize my screws. So here we have 4 M3 that are lower. They are the 4 millimeters height. Here we have 8 that are 5 millimeters in height. And these are the 2 that we use to close the housing for the scale. But among these 8 screws, we have 2 that are magnetic. So these are the 2 that are metallic. Now I'm going to use 2 M3 by 5 on the top to attach the load cell to the housing. Okay. If we go to printables, these are the base files. So now I'm going to use the load cell housings to attach the load cells. So this is the load cell housing. This is the left, I would say. Well, it's intuitive. And I'm going to fix it here inside. Be careful not to break the wires. You need to put the wires inside these grooves here. I don't know if you can see, but there's a space for the wires to go inside. This is what I'm going to do now. It's a bit difficult, but with a little patience, you can put it right inside. Use 2 M3 by 5 on the top to attach the load cell to the housing. Then 2 4 millimeters on the bottom to attach the flex limiter. Okay, here I'm going to use the M4, 2 M4. Okay, this is a tricky one. This part here should be down. So it should be in this position, and we're going to use 1 magnetic screw on the left and the non-magnetic on the right. And we need to check if we have a gap all the way around so that it doesn't interfere with the load sensor. And now I'm going to do the same for the other load cell. It's the same, so I'm not going to show, okay? Now, housing for the dual scale board. First, we need to place the retainer. It's this piece here. Very small. So I'm going to put it here first to receive the board. So this is the right position. And then we push it back here. Now we need to measure the wires and cut. So this is what we are gonna do now. Same thing. So now that I'm positioning the wires here, let me cut the wires. Same story here. I like to have a cable cutter. These are very thin wires. These cables are so thin that even with this cable cutter, you may damage the wires. So be careful, be gentle. Note that there is a sequence to solder the wires. Here we have marked the sequence. I don't know if you can see, but it's green, white, black and red. Okay, so I finished the soldering. I'm a bit ashamed of my soldering skills, but I think it's gonna suffice. Now I should place it here. Now we flip the cable here. And now it is time. Let's see if it's gonna fit or not. And now we have the scales. All good. Now I'm gonna use the super glue. Okay, so the recommendation is to glue only the ones that are distant, then let it dry for, I don't know, 15 minutes, and then you glue the others. Okay, so this is the result. I don't know if you can see, but it's well aligned. Here we have another one. Also nice. And this is the way that it's gonna be installed. I just marked the side of each magnet so that I don't invert here. It's important that they are all in the same orientation because later you will have to align with the top support. Now I have my hardware scale assembled. This is the right orientation. I'm gonna put it here. Now I'm gonna have to put the magnets here in this support for the drip tray. This is the position that we are gonna put the support and the drip tray, okay? So what you need to know is that these magnets here should be attracted and not repelled by this base. So a simple way to test is to put the magnets here to see if it's attracting or repelling. In this case it's repelling. So the right orientation is this. So I'm marking here with permanent marker so that I know that this is the side that should be down, that will be attracted. Okay, so I'll mark all of them. So I'm gonna use 2 by 2. How are we gonna glue? I'm gonna put the magnets inside with super glue. I'm gonna use this baking paper over a metallic plate and I'll put upside down so that the magnets are very well aligned. Let me see if I can do all the 4 at the same time. Let's try first 2 that are distant. They're super tiny. Okay. And we'll let it dry. Now I'm gonna try to optimize my time and glue all those inserts. In part of this video you will see the cable going on the top of the frame. It needs to go from the bottle, and then there's an opening here in the lateral that will go all the way up to the machine. And now I'm gonna connect the metallic side facing the frame. I don't know if you can see, but I inserted the wire and closed the lid. It's firm. And this is the tray adapter. not super well aligned, but it's working well. If you notice now, the magnets are in the right orientation. They just slide nicely here. You need to observe a little bit of space between the adapter and the frame, maybe 2 millimeters on each side and on the back, and they should be parallel to the frame. Now we'll detach the load cell housing from the scale housing, both ends. We'll remove the load plates. Now the load cell housings are detached from the center housing. I placed like it was the orientation, and now I'm going to put the load plate. And the load plate has 2 pins that will fit in the load cell. Before flashing your scale calibration files, we need to create the extra defines. To do that, you just use your notepad, extra underscore defines .ini. Yes, I'm going to change it. Here in the Arduino instructions, you have this text that you just copy and paste here. Save. And you should have here in your root the correct files. Now I have to flash the scale calibration files. I go to Platform I/O. I'm gonna use the scale calibration STLink files. Build. And success. Now I need to upload. Okay, so I unplugged my machine. Now I'm gonna plug my STLink, connect again, upload. Success. Now I'm gonna disconnect my STLink. Now we need to flash our screen. To do that, you can go to your root, and then in Scales Calibration, you need to check if your screen is Nextion Basic, Nextion Discovery, or TJC. Then you copy this file to your SD card, put it in the screen, and turn it on. I was not able to capture a good image of the screen flashing, but believe me, it was successful. Now we turn off, remove the cards. There we go. So the screen is correctly flashed. So now I'm gonna weight both the tamper and my load plate. So we have 405.5 grams. Now we'll put the calibration load plate here. And our tamper. Okay, so now I can see on the left side the weight that the scale is measuring, and it needs to achieve 405.5 here. I think I need to decrease. Too much. Now I think we need to go here and change the range to 10. Almost there. Now one by one. Oops. For 106. 405.8. So now you take a picture or you take notes of this number here. In my case, LC1 is 2229. Now, the other side. Same story. Here, one of the factors will have to be negative. So let's try. 405.40 something. I think is my best. So LC2 in my case will be minus 2235. Before using the hardware scales, we were flashing the OPCB Forced Predictive STLink. Now that we have the hardware scales, we need to use the OPCB STLink. So I'm gonna build and upload the code to the PCB. Remember that you need to flash your Arduino screen back, and I'm not gonna show the process again. It's the same procedure. Copy the file that corresponds to your screen to your SD card, put it in your screen, the files will be transferred to your screen. Then when you see the 100% successful, power off. Time to reassemble the load plates. Remember that this side is the magnetic one. Magnetic screw always towards the center. And non-magnetic screws always towards the water tank. Now we can fit again in place. Now we go to settings, system. So here we have the factors, LC1 and LC2 that I'm adjusting now. Okay, save. The weight is a bit weird, 327 grams. Why is that? Okay, so why this was happening? When the cable was laying over the frame here, it was touching the bottom of the drip tray. And of course, it was affecting the weight here, the reading, and I was getting inconsistent and very wrong numbers. So the first thing that I tried is to use masking tape to keep the cable flat on the surface here and not touching the bottom of the drip tray. However, when it became in close contact with this metallic part, it behaved like an antenna, because when the pump and the solenoid valve are triggered in the beginning of your shot, there's a big electromagnetic radiation, and this was sufficient for the antenna to capture that noise and interfere in the readings so that the scale in the Arduino would read 0 or something weird, like 200 or 900 grams, and it was stopping my shot because the goal was achieved. The 38 grams that I was aiming for was being achieved, more than that, according to the readings, and then the system was stopping it. But I had no idea of why this was happening. Then I raised a question on Discord, and one of the developers told me that it's probably due to the electromagnetic interference. And then I realized that, well, this started to happen when I tried to keep it flat on this metallic surface. So should not be a coincidence. Then I revised the instructions, and according to the instructions, you should send this cable under your machine. But I was like, this is a very small detail. The cable will still be in contact with the frame, but under the frame, not over. Then I decided to give it a try, test it. Now my cable is going under the frame, and then through the lateral side in the rear of the machine, there's a hole, and then it goes upwards to connect to the PCB, and it's working perfectly. And now that the problem is fixed, let's do a shot and check the precision of this scale. (36.2) in 24 seconds. The target was 38, and in the cup we have 36.9. Okay, so we've got 1.1 gram difference. Why this happens? One explanation that I found on Discord is that the system stops a bit earlier, if understood, because the discharge valve will release some water in the drip tray when you stop the shot. Then your scale would add that measurement to your weight. So if I didn't understand wrong, by design, Arduino stops a fraction of seconds before the shot stops to avoid this contamination. Then you may have also a different measurement, because after stopping your shot, if you're using a double spout filter like I was doing now, you may have also a few drops that will add to your cup, but it's only 1.1 grams in this case. And if you're annoyed by 1 gram, just add to your goal a gram more, and you should be fine. I like a lot to have the stop on weight feature. It's one thing less for me to worry about. I can just press a button and I don't need to look at the scale to stop my shot. I can just watch my extraction in my naked portafilter just for the beauty of the extraction, or to, I don't know, to judge if it is channeling or not. And afterwards, I can check all the data in the display. So for me, the hardware scales are a no-brainer. And yes, you are seeing here Gadget E24. I just acquired. It was an opportunity. Someone was selling on Marketplaats. It's a kind of eBay in the Netherlands. And it was super cheap because his wife didn't like. He didn't have space in the kitchen. He wanted to buy a new one. He offered online. And I was lucky to see before others that could identify the machine. I bid it and I got a pretty new, almost never used machine. It has only a scratch here in the water tank, but apart from that, it's perfect. More to come on that. Wait for my next videos. I'm gonna tell you what I found different in this brass boiler that it has inside, the larger volume, the different material, if it improves temperature stability or not. And another thing that I'm gonna show you in this machine is how to do the power switch mode. So stay tuned, see my other videos about the temperature stability in a Gadget Classic, because this will be the basis for comparison with the E24. And see you in my next video. Thanks for watching.